from NBC News, this is Today. Live from Studio 1A in Rockefeller Plaza.
And good morning. Welcome to Today on this wonderful Saturday morning. I'm Michael Smith here live from Rockefeller Plaza here at Studio 1A here in New York. Thank you all so much for watching today's episode. We appreciate your viewership and we thank you for watching the brand new MSNBC. I am so glad that I made this brand new network. I mean, this is going to be a great network. I'm so glad to be joined by my brand new co-host here of Today, SheevPalpatine. Palpatine, how are you doing this morning?
Doing fantastic. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good, Sheev. I mean, how's your weekend going so far? I know it's been a pretty early start for you, but for first time really doing Today and morning shows, I mean, how's it been so far?
I'm doing pretty good.
That is good. We've got some great guests for you. I mean, I know Palpatine has really been organizing that for us, as well as our backstage staff. We've got Liam McDonald coming on the show, as well as Carl L. Schultz and Centaur Excel, which is some of the many that's going to be on the Today Show this morning. We're going to go ahead and begin with some news coming out of the online world of Twitter, as many organizations, including our own, has been hosting our own little mini online polls to see exactly how you feel as the American voter. Who are you going to be voting for even tomorrow, if the election were held tomorrow or today? This has all been brewing overnight. Keep that in mind as well. But the polls are pretty much mixed between the candidates. Now, you got to think about this. How many people are voting in these polls? Things like that. You have many people, including some people that are going to be on the show today, that believe that polls don't really mean anything, which in many cases, they just don't. Let's go ahead and go over to the polls and see exactly what they are. You can see on your screen there, on our board, you can see our man Foley with 63.6% in this poll. Now, this was a poll conducted by myself on behalf of Michael Smith Properties and MSNBC and NBC News. Our man Foley got 63.6% of the vote. Now, this was last night sometime. It could be different now, but this is what voters as of last night had. 63.6% of the vote if the election was held tomorrow, and Behan Filipino with 36.4%. Now, this was through another company at the bottom. This was through Free News Organization. Now, this is a smaller organization. This is a smaller news organization. Now, they took a poll. Now, this was between three candidates, a con artist, Behan Filipino, and Armand Foley. They also had Centaur Zealous, but the votes was just very insufficient. Our graphic people just didn't really want to put that on there. Armand Foley with 33.3% of the vote, with Behan Filipino leading this with 50% of the vote. Now, keep in mind, this is from last night. Behan Filipino, 50% of the vote, and a con artist, 16.7% of the vote. Now, a con artist, a not very well-known person, but I mean, I would say running for president, but I mean, Behan was leading this poll. Now, you can see polls that Armin is leading and polls that Behan is leading. That is very interesting. Sheev, what are your thoughts about these polls? Do they matter? What do you think about this?
Well, some of these polls I think are a little bit skewed. If you honestly look at them, the two candidates almost have an equal amount of support. There should be neck and neck. These polls are way off kilter. They're showing one ahead of the other, and they're just opposites of each other.
Yeah. And I get you there. So, who do you think that Armin and Behan is appealing to? What type of voter are they appealing to, in your opinion? I mean, I think that Behan is appealing to more of a traditional voter. I think Armin is trying to appeal to the average person. What are your thoughts on that? Who do you think that they're trying to appeal to?
I believe both candidates are trying to appeal to the entire electorate. If you look at that, their broad support would support my statement there.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you there. So that is poll. We're going to be talking to some of our guests as well about these polls and more. But coming up this morning on Today, we're going to be talking about the recent VP nomination for the Armand Foley campaign. Now, Armand Foley has chosen Liam D. McDonald, or William P. Nixon, as his vice presidential running mate at a rally last night. This was a very packed rally. He had a good amount of people there, but this was a live rally. Now, this rally was at the Palpatine Event Center. They had a good crowd. There was many people in the media that were there. but it was a very fantastic event as well. Now, I want to let you all know that today, Behan Filipino will have his rally live here on MSNBC. Hopefully, we'll see if we can get our cameras on the ground. It will be in Sacramento, California. I believe it will be near the Capitol building, the state Capitol building. It's his first campaign rally. It will be Central Time at 11 a.m., but Eastern Time, I believe, at noon. So you can catch that as well online and live coverage as well in our Discord server and on our Twitter page. Be sure to follow that. Be sure to join our Discord as well, which is in the description for the latest information on this. So when we return, we're going to talk about that, the campaign rally, what is expected, and we're going to be talking to the Secretary of Defense, Carl L. Schultz, when we return over the phone. Do not go anywhere. Today's show, we'll be right back.
Want to get away? Now you can. With low fares starting at $59 one way.
And welcome back to today on this wonderful, wonderful Saturday morning. I mean, we've got a great show for you all on this wonderful Saturday morning. Thank you so much for waking up with us here on today. We thank you for making us a part of your Saturday. You didn't have to do it, but you did. So thank you so much for watching today, this morning. All right, so we've got it going for you. So joining us over the phone currently, I believe from Washington, is the current Defense Secretary, Carl L. Schultz. Carl, how are you?
I'm doing great, Michael. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine. It's Saturday, right? Okay, so I got some questions for you regarding the Defense Department. First, what are some of the threats that you all are closely monitoring and looking at from the Pentagon, and what exactly is going on worldwide that you all are watching right now?
From what I can share right now, the president is actively focusing on foreign relations with military-wise. As one goal we have in mind together, and it's something we'll be pursuing within the upcoming weeks as we near the end of the term. But right now, we don't have any immediate threats to our national security or defense. We are at DEFCON 3 from my understanding, so we're ready to deploy anytime. We have what seems to be a very active Special Operations Command, which is our command that we use to fight if we were to go to war. But aside from the Special Operations Command, we have a pretty set military. 4 branches open right now, and we're going to keep it that way for right now. But
yeah, that's good. So, are you all actively recruiting? Is there a shortage of people that are actually in the service? How does that work? Actually, thinking that AR is a fairly new nation.
Well, Michael, I'd say we were doing pretty well for a nation that has just started within the past 2 months. Considering we don't even have a game yet, we don't have any advertisements. I say we're doing pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, and that
about as well as
yeah, go ahead.
About as well we can.
Yeah,
but we are actively recruiting. We're always looking for more people to join. So if you're interested, obviously you can DM me or the chairman or any of the Joint Chiefs. They'd be happy to recruit you. Yeah, I'd say we're doing pretty well.
And that's good. That's great. So, I mean, has the game being delayed, has that taken away some of the recruitment? Has that kind of held some things back, or is that kind of just kind of indifferent there?
I'd say it's kind of like it's kind of lowered morale. But at the same time, I believe once the game does come out, it is definitely going to be a great motivation for people who are interested in joining AR and also hopefully the military. Yeah, I'd say the game development being pushed back has hurt a little, but I'd say we're still on top of things regardless of when the game comes out.
Yeah, and I think that kind of lowered everyone's morale, because I think that kind of raised questions: is this game going to actually be out? Are we actually going to launch as a nation? Very clear questions there. So what is going on inside the Defense Department right now, and what can the American people be rest assured of today? What can they be rest assured that the Defense Department is doing for them actively?
Well, Michael, we are focusing on a smooth transition as we're coming to the near the term. Obviously, we are still full set speed on any operations that we currently have. We are not stopping any operations just because the term is coming near. My goal and my staff's goal in the upcoming few weeks is to prepare the new team to come in, whoever that may be. But I'd say the American people should be should feel pretty safe right now. There is no threats. Again, we have a pretty active military, and I'd say considering that we've already won our first war, we're doing pretty good for a new group.
That is definitely good. So let's talk about some things that have been brewing up in the last couple of days with the whole gangs rising in our cities and the whole thing where once we get our game out, once it's established, once we get a government set up, a lot of people are thinking that these gangs are going to take over and they're going to begin some of the same old habits that happened in Noosa or in other countries. Does that raise any alarms for the Defense Department or any forms of the military with that? Because, we could have a situation where what we had in 2020 and 2021, really in the height of, the whole heat of the moment, especially in real life as well, where we had the United States military being deployed actually actively in the city. Is that raising alarms about that? Because I know that is on the minds of many, many people, including myself, because many of you remember watching me on this exact network doing that. So what are your thoughts about that, and does that raise any alarms?
Well, in regards to the Defense Department, Michael, I'd say it's more concern for our intelligence divisions that we have right now. In conjunction with the DNI, we were working closely with the Office of the Director of National Intelligence just to monitor any gang activities that might be arising as the game comes out. In regards to our nation's military, I would say martial law is the last resort. I always advise any president that I'm serving under not to declare it unless it's a must-have. Just because it can get disorganized at times. We're not used to what we had in Noosa with the weapons and the map and such. We weren't used to that kind of setup for any warfare.
Right.
So we were kind of at a disadvantage with that. But I'm hoping with AR, it's going to be new with everybody. So there's not going to be a disadvantage for either side. Again, martial law, I'd say, is the last resort for our military, and I hope that we will not have to declare martial law with an AR. But if it's a must-have,
and that is really, really good. So, all right, Carl, thanks so much for joining us. There were some great questions here, and I did get a lot of queries out for many people out of their minds. Thank you so much, Carl.
Great, thank you.
Coming up on today, we're going to be having Liam McDonald coming on the Today Show talking about his nomination and our man Foley. We want to talking about that because that's going to be very interesting indeed. You see him on the couch right there. I'm going to be talking to him. And more coming up. You're watching today on MSNBC.
Sometimes you want to go where everybody knows your name, and they're always glad you came. You want to be where you can see our troubles are all the same. You want to be where everybody knows your name. You want to go
Applebee's. All your favorite burgers, all just $8.99. Now that's eating good in the neighborhood.
And welcome back today. It's a beautiful morning here on Today. Welcome back to Today. Thank you so much for waking up with us this morning here on this Saturday. I am so ready to start off my weekend. It has been a week, folks. All right, so join me now. Live here in the studio is the running mate and possible future vice president serving under Armin Foley is Liam McDonald. Liam, how are you?
Oh, I'm pretty good, Michael. How about you?
I'm doing good. Your career just took some significant flight in the last 24 to 48 hours, as I was saying earlier. So it must be good to be. It must be good to be you this morning.
Well, it's sure exciting. That's for sure, Michael.
That is great. Join me live. Okay, so let's go ahead and ask some questions now. I want to talk to you about Armin and who is he trying. Well, first off, I want to talk to you about these polls because Armin is doing well. In most polls, he's actually doing pretty well. And as of this morning, that poll that was at the bottom, he's still down, but it looks like he's doing a little bit better. So what are your thoughts about that and Armin's popularity on that? And do these polls really matter to him?
Well, I'll start off on the polls mattering in general. I think that the opinions of I'm just looking at the bottom there. That's obviously the total votes are a multiple of 6. So 6, 12, 18 people versus the electorate, which is around 350 people. So to compare and contrast who has a lead over who with these opinions of so few people, such a few percentage of the electorate in its entirety is flawed in itself. And to go on from that, I think there's about 25 people, give or take, who are in Armin's and Bayern's server. But aside from that, you can see Armin, he's got 120 or 135 members in his server right now, and Bayern's got little under 80. So from that, I think that speaks for itself.
Definitely, I understand you from there. So, what are your plans if you do become vice president? How do you plan to assist the president and things of that nature? What if you do end up winning the election in just a few weeks?
Well, the role of vice president isn't much more than enacting the president's legislative agenda in Congress. But I'd like if me and Biden, or me, you've got me confused. If me and Armin get elected, I'd like to see him designate me with NSC clearance so I can sit in on things that pertain to the intelligence community or the defense apparatus or national security. I'd like to be able to do more than just be the president's legislative chief.
And that is actually really good. That's really good. So talk to me about that. So why do you think that Armin chose you, and what makes you most qualified to be vice president? I mean, you want the high clearances. What makes you qualified in most people's eyes?
Well, no, I was just saying there because the vice president doesn't get National Security Council clearance.
Right,
normally.
exactly.
But anyway, on to what you were saying there is I joined NUSA originally just for experience sake in November of 2013. And since I was first elected to the Senate in 2015, I had 9 terms in the Senate in NUSA, which was quite a long time. Actually, it was about a year and a half. And on top of this term now, and in NUSA and AR, I've passed a good 50, 60 articles of legislation, proposed hundreds. I think I'm pretty qualified for legislation's sake.
Yeah, that's really good. That's good. So, how does it feel to be on the Armin Foley ticket? I mean, it must be a roller coaster ride for Armin. Then we're going to talk about who is he appealing to next. How does it feel?
It feels pretty good. Yeah, there's some ups and downs, I suppose, with you had there Con News with that leak there, but it's pretty exciting. We're working a lot with policy and the people who are in those departments in those fields relative to said policy. We've heard a lot from those people to have input into the policy that we've put out so far, and policy we will continue to put out until the election starts. And yeah, it is pretty exciting, Michael. I think we can make a lot of change for the betterment of American roleplay.
That's really good. I'm so glad to hear that. So let's talk about Armin Foley. Now, what makes you think he can win? I mean, what do you think can help him win the election? I mean, who is he appealing to? What type of voter do you think? I asked my co-host this earlier, Sheev. I asked Sheev this earlier. How can he win? Who is he appealing to? What change is he trying to make in America?
I think I'll start off with your first point there. Who's he appealing to? I think Armin is trying to appeal to the no-nonsense American. Armin, he's been very straightforward with his nonpartisanship in NUSA and now in American roleplay, and then you've got Bayern, who's a self-proclaimed classic liberal, and he flops with this forward leftist party he created to have the nomination, and now he's also a self-proclaimed constitutionalist, and that's pretty nonsensical if you look at the ideologies of each party.
Now, what do you have to say about his supporters? Armin supporters are typically, some of his supporters do not carry out things that should be like crimes, are starting up gangs, bad organization that plan to, as I talked to the Secretary of Defense, that are raising eyebrows in the intelligence community. How do you all feel about that? I mean, do you want their support? How do you feel about that? Because that obviously paints your campaign in a negative light.
I don't, but I'll start off with what I think and lead into an answer to your question. I think that it doesn't matter what an American does, they should not be able to lose their constitutionally afforded, God-protected, God-given right to vote. So going from that, I think those people should be able to have whatever political affiliation, as long as it's legal, mind you, that they want. And moving along into that, we just started out. We don't even have a game yet. And once we do, just think about BUSA, Michael. When there were the few server startups that there were barely any criminals. We were all just standing around, pussyfooting about. So now, once we start, we want some crime. So law enforcement has something to do. Because if law enforcement's just standing around in a circle, talking to each other, doing nothing, it's not really entertaining for those people. I think they'll want to be more active and participate more in the community if there's crime.
Exactly, right. So you think, and this is something that was brought up in Noosa quite a lot. You and me both remember this. That the thing was crime helps the nation, right? We both remember that very well. I both remember covering that actually very, very well. You see, that Noosa experience actually brings up many, many bells. So
a nation, Michael, it's filled with people. In this Lego nation, we have games. We're not physically there, so we all need to be active to go to these places to have our nation. And in order for us to be inspired to do that, there has to be things for our roles that we role play in this community. If you're a law enforcement officer, you're not going to want to go and not do anything for the entire time that you're playing the game.
Right.
You're going to want to do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah. And I understand that, absolutely. So, the crime rate, again, I mean, and your thoughts about the gangs, I mean, and what is your thought on that, officially on those gangs?
My specific thought, Michael, is crime, organized crime, is good. We need people to rob the banks. We need people to shoot people from rooftops. We need that for activity. And the second it gets too much, Michael, I encourage any sitting president to declare martial law and deploy the military, because that, Michael, creates even more activity. And that's what we need.
Absolutely, and I definitely agree with you on that. So, final thoughts. Any final thoughts you want to share with the people of America as you all continue? And any rallies coming up with the campaign as well?
No, I'd like to keep it as apolitical as possible, Michael. I'd just like to say, I hope that you can get on a computer or a phone and get out and vote when it's time to vote. I don't even care who you vote for. Get out and vote.
I mean, Noosa elections only got 50 votes this year. 50 votes this year for the presidential elections. That is just insane. Let's see how many we get this year. Any final thoughts, William?
Nope, Michael, I'm good.
All right. Well, coming up on today, final thoughts from me and addressing some controversy that have been coming up against me and my good name. Coming up on today. We'll be right back.
Getting the incredible iPhone 13 without T-Mobile makes as much sense as playing hide and seek.
Ready or not, here I come!
In the desert.
Really, guys?
T-Mobile has more 5G bars in more places than anyone. And now, when you switch, you can get iPhone 13 on us on every plan.
You're not going to fit in that hole.
Don't look any further. Unlock the full power of iPhone 13 on us at T-Mobile, the network with more 5G bars in more places.
And welcome back to Today on this Saturday morning. We appreciate you all coming on the show, and we thank you so much for watching here live this morning here on Today. Now, I wanted to end on a note, and I know William is joining me now. We were just talking about this backstage. I want to address some of the allegations that have been swirling up online against me by my former family or Rachel Smith or Lucy Smith. I just want to say something to all of you that have seen that online. First off, if you haven't seen it online, don't, because it's all a hoax, it's false, and yeah, so what? Exactly, and so what if I probably did that? It was really none of their business in the first place. They just want to shame my good name, and they want to throw it in the toilet. So you, the viewer, will not look at me anymore. And I want to read you what she said. I want to read. Go ahead.
It'd be like if you were at in a Roblox game, and it said somewhere in the state of New Jersey, okay, and there's a cafeteria in this game, and then someone comes up to you and says, "Oh my God, you need to call the state of New Jersey health inspector board right now on this cafeteria, man. This Lego cafeteria, fictionally based in the state of New Jersey, man, it's just not up to par."
Exactly. Now, let's talk about this. Now, the allegations are that I coerced or, she made an all-out truth exposing about me, perverted actions, child grooming, homophobia. Bottom line is, what is she talking about? A lot of these pictures are photoshopped. She won't show the victims. Show these so-called victims. She blurs their names. So for all we know, it could be her saying all this in chat logs, just trying to make it like somebody else. I mean, she blurs these people out. I don't know who she's talking about. And let's talk about what she said. She said, now think about it. When this family of mine, Smith family, they quote-unquote disown me, but they're not going to disown anything because they're a bunch of losers. And the sad part about it is that Rachel was a good friend of mine. She was for a while. But I guess you just don't know anybody now. I guess you just don't know anybody. You can't trust people anymore. You know, it's 2022. You can't trust anybody. But listen to this. She said, this is about me. She said, this was when we had our house, our mansion. Just about 2 weeks ago, we started hiring maids and other household staff for the estate. He tried to get the most revealing maid outfit he could find. And in his own words, he wanted the maids to, I'm going to quote this, bend down and show it all. I was the one who tried convincing him, to give them a less sexist outfit, but in the end, the outfit he chose was still quite revealing. Okay, now there's another one. He once tried setting me up with a creepy guy who wanted to rape me. His response to the guy when I told Michael, hell no, was, sorry, it didn't work out. You know women these days. Now, why would I say that? William, do you think I did this stuff? Be honest with you. Do you think...
Well, what I think, Michael, I have 2 points here. I have one. Just over the past few months, we have seen the trials of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell take place with these transcripts being released. I think she got a little carried away reading these victim transcripts.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
I think she started writing her own stories. I do. And another thing, Michael, is that while you were talking there, I came up with a way better analogy than the cafeteria. Imagine, Michael, if in this game, let's say we're in New York right now, Michael. We're in New York City in this game. Okay, Michael? If I reach over and I punch you in the face in this game, what she's trying to get people to do is tantamount to you calling the New York Police Department on me for punching you in this Lego New York City game.
Absolutely. And, do you really think I did this? I mean, honestly, do you really think I did this? I mean, this is just fake allegations. It's just unreal. Unreal. I mean, just like unreal.
I don't even understand some of the things she said you did. I can't even understand the reasoning behind why someone would want to do that. I really think she just made it up, pulled it out of her ass.
Now, this is one that is terrible. She said, my personal experience with him being sexist is that on a voice call once, he told me that the only way I could ever find a man in the roleplay is if I gave a man what he wanted, aka sex, in quotes. He told me that I would have to show lots of skin, and be super flirty and feely. He also told me that I would have to give myself away and have lots of sex because if I didn't, the man would get bored and leave.
Okay, two things, Michael. One, I don't know anyone who's not an 8-year-old who talks like that. And secondly, in reality, if this actually happened, I could see you telling her to send actually, right. I kind of forget who you said, but send the guy nudes. What is the appeal from this Lego sex?
Right.
It's not real. It's virtual. No one gets anything from it. It's like a joke.
It's like a joke. Exactly. And this is back in American roleplay, she says. Now, perverted actions and sexism. He said, now this was back in October. He was formerly an AP, but left due to being canceled. I'm uncancelable for being sexist towards women. On his Fox shows, when I worked at the Fox News channel, he said something amongst the lines to Ella Wintour that she got a high rank for sleeping around with men and being a whore. It got so bad to the point where I had to apologize on behalf of the family and Fox because we started to get hate for it. So what if I said that? It may have been true. It was a joke. Rachel cannot understand a joke. Go ahead.
A lot of my experience with actual women in Noosa, not traps, is that's how they would get nominations and do nothing, is they'd send someone nudes.
That's exactly right. So, and that's exactly how they got their jobs, is that they would send nudes and get sexual favors for jobs. Yeah.
Speaking of sexism, I've been keeping up with some of the parliamentarian definitions, policies, and legislation that's changed in the past 2-3 decades. And if you look Canada, the UK, the US, well, primarily, let's just say the US. The US passed this starting in 1963 after the Equal Pay Act. They started passing this policy, and it's as racist as possible. In the United States right now, their affirmative action policy is everyone who's a woman is above a man in terms of getting a job because of historic inequity, which means 200 years ago, men weren't very nice to women, and we have to make up for that today. And then you look at the racial spectrum. If you're an Asian man or a white man, every other race of man gets a leg up on you in getting a job, and women of those other races get 2 legs up on you, because apparently if you're a white man or an Asian man, you must be smarter and have it easier than everyone else. Mm-hmm. Doesn't that seem very racist, Michael?
Very, very, extremely. And I've always said that. And it's just, it's absolutely insane. My final thought on this before I go is that do not believe the lies that Rachel Smith, Lucy Smith, any of these fake Smiths tell you, because I control that family. They took everything from me. They took my house, my money, my cars. They just took it away. I'm going to get it all back, and better than ever. I still have Robux. I still have money. It's fine. Say that again.
Michael's family's like a bad ex.
Exactly.
And along those notes, stay in school. Don't do drugs.
Exactly. Stay in school. Don't do drugs. That's going to be it for us here on the Today Show. Thank you all so much for watching here live on MSNBC. This was our first episode. We ended with some fireworks, but we're here now, and we're going to continue here. This is going to be our first show. We're going to have new shows very soon. We may have MSNBC reports and our own primetime shows, as we typically do here on my network. So, thank you all so much for watching today. Have a great morning. Have a great day. We will see you right back here tomorrow for Sunday Today. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a great evening, and bye-bye.
This is NBC.